All right. People. I know we as human beings collectively have more than just brain damage, as what the Rinvoq commercial they had on, and you have this eczema, but it can make your immune system not function properly. Okay. When you have eczema, it's because your immune system is trying to kick stuff out. Okay. Melanoma is very similar, I found out. You have intense chemical poisoning and stuff that the body tries to eject the poisoning rapidly, okay, to points where it's weakest. And I'm like, wow, that's really it's impressive to see how strong and beautiful the body is and how it tries to save your life from things that are wrong. That the body is just a incredible gift, when you appreciate it and try to deal with it correctly. And a lot of people, yeah, technically, if I radically change my lifestyle and eat more and more fruits and vegetables, well, mostly vegetables, and even focus more on meditation and my rest and exercise and focusing on getting that more optimal. Yeah, my recovery will be better. But that's not my issue. That's the people in charge's issue. Quality of life and living truthfully and righteously and good, and so if you, because there I said something about President Trump and Jesus, and so now Jesus does not like him. It does not like him. And you said this Sun Yat-sen and D.T. Suzuki and Judah Krishna are not a molecular similitude of myself. Okay? When I talk about Jesus, I mean, I know. Okay? No, he does not like this. He does not, you know what I mean? So it's like, no, that makes him angry. Okay, that upsets him. That pisses him off. Okay? He's very disappointed in Obama. He expected a lot more out of Obama because of what he said and how he acted. Okay? He doesn't expect anything right or good out of Donald Trump. I like Charles Dickens too, right? Yeah. And so, no. When he sat there the other day, so you're making energy. You're not making energy, but you don't make energy. You conduct energy. But if you can't make money off of it, it's like when you make money off it, it's inefficient, and it causes people to use Rinvoq, causes heart disease, causes birth defects. Okay, kills children with birth defects and heart disease, kills mommies, grandmas, and daddies with cancer and other stuff. When Rockefeller put the gasoline into the water supply, stuff like that. So, and then said to everybody, "Hey, you all doing it too." And so, like, I used to tell people, he said, like with Steve, when he tried the cocaine with Buddy and them, and he said, they told me, I'm going to be exposed to it at U of A, and I might as well try it with people I trust. I said, yeah, they've also, are all homosexual or bisexual and tried to talk us into having sex, Steve. You're going to be exposed to that at U of A. You're going to do that too? And he goes, that's an excellent argument. That's a good point. Thanks. We met later, when I came back home when I was a single dad, and me and Steve met and talked, and he said, after you talked to me that night, I'm married, I got 2 kids, and I'm a engineer, And I was like, so that was you you talked me out of, I've had that with quite a few people, that they talked to me and said, that moment, changed my entire life when you talked to me and you talked sense to me. Okay, but it seems to only happen with people that have no desire to be successful and famous. It just has to do with people that just want to try to live a good life. It doesn't work with people that are successful or famous at all. That want to be successful or famous. They don't listen to a damn thing. They're always thinking about their next idea. I was finishing up. You sit there and Suzuki said, You can take a night off. I just want you to be consistent on the resistance training. So grab your food, eat, and we'll soak. I said, that sounds like an idea. He goes, that's not an idea. That's when I was doing the other thing stuff. I said, well, that sounds like a plan. He goes, that sounds better. It's not an idea, Earl. I'm like, yeah, shut up. Okay. It's good to have him in my head. He's like, no, your language and your thoughts and everything you're doing, you need to understand. When we talk, it has to be very logical, it has to be very intelligent, it has to be quite logical. And, when people are wrong, they need to understand, what you think, do, and say affects people radically. Yeah. This whole thing on this billionaire thing that's right here, kill cancer, blah, 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 blah. Cancer is a cell in the body we just talked about. Okay. Now, if they're talking about killing cancer, okay, they're talking about killing you and replacing you with a robot, or cancer is not the issue. Stress, toxins, and aggressive industrialized abuse is the issue. Okay? The cancer cell's doing what the body needs to survive from the people that, when they talk that way, that guy, kill cancer. You can't do that. Okay? We all have, that lady studied it, presented to Congress. It's just helping the body shut down because it's been bombarded with radiation, because it's been bombarded with carbon emission poisoning. Okay. And the body says it can't take anymore, and it starts to shut down. It says it's time to die. Okay. And that needs to be eliminated. So we need to forgive debt and trespass, love one eternal, faithful peace, share, care, give according to need, build to last. Okay, so, when you billionaires talk this way and then come up with game plans, and, I guess that's an idea. Think it's an idea? I love Suzuki so much. But, James Franklin, I saw that James Franklin got hired at West Virginia Tech. Seems like a good place for him. He's a good recruiter, and there's a lot of good recruits you can get there. And I don't know how the pressure is going to be if it's more or less at Penn State, but he seems to get the kids and stuff that they want to play for him and like him, So football's interesting. I'd be an excellent football coach. Oh yeah. Well, because I can get kids to, my thing would be this, don't be the cause of the injury. All right. We're going to go out there. We're going to play contain. We're going to play intelligent. And we're going to play, we can play efficiently and quickly because we're playing intelligently. But don't go to bring violence to the, basically Aikido, Tai Chi, right? When you come to the point of interaction, it may be trouble though, because it might get a lot of the other kids hurting each other and hurt themselves. Because if you can react and move and push them out of the way, just stiff arm this, because you can do that in football. That's why Jesus told me not to play. He said, no, you'd really hurt people. Well, if your agility and your they would come at you as soon as they lower their heads. He's in trouble. He's going into his linebacker. And so I never played. I didn't want to physically hurt people because they were trying to physically hurt me, and the whole mindset from the coaching staff would get them hurt, and I didn't want to do that. And then people say, "I'm not dirty." They are. That dirty mongoose. He won't let me catch him and eat him. No, I'm not going to either. Okay. That's how I was when I played football. So that dirty mongoose. That's why Philip Warwick used to refer to me as Bambi. Run, Bambi, run. Runs like a faggot. You're just pissed because you can't catch him. That's what he always used to tell Gary Ward in PE. You're just pissed because you can't catch him. Run, Bambi, run. It's gorgeous. Bambi's getting away. Oh, Philip Work. He's a good guy, man. Yeah, I like offensive linemen. Like I said, Darren Morgan, Adam West. I always had a good rapport with offensive linemen in junior high and high school. At Chuck Valley, Chuck was the left tackle. Yeah, and so almost all my and Rico, and so a lot of my buddies, centers and offensive linemen. Yeah, they loved me. I loved them too. But Phil was still. I don't know if Phil's still pissed at me about that. I told him, I said, no, if you, and I've repeated this story a bunch of times. I said, if he had got you and Chuck suspended for the Kettle Fall game, we still would have won. All he'd have to do is just throw a bubble screen. Kettle Falls wasn't going to stop me, even without you and Chuck and you and Chuck. And I wasn't being braggadocious. This is the truth. They weren't going to be able to contain and tackle me because they lost to Kettle Falls like 21-13 without Phil and Chuck. Okay, and 21-13. And if they would have had Mr. Shutdown Corner and Mr. Bubble Screen, kickoff return, punt return, 80, 90-yarder guy, no. We probably would have won like about, 42-10. Yeah, if I would have played, I would have only played half the games. Half the games, you know what I mean? Played the first half every game. And then Coach Falk would have just took me out. So then, good job, Earl. And I wouldn't have bitched. I would have been like, okay. I watched the other kids and sat and rooted for the other kids. Good job. Get on. Get in your spot. And it's encouraging them. You know me. Same with basketball. That's why I used to get upset about all the kids that everywhere I play. I was like, why you don't? What do you have against winning the district, state, or whatever title? What is? Or you have like a affliction or an allergic reaction to it? Because when they're having that thing about that revoke, it's like an allergic reaction is what is happening to your body when you have all those poisons and stuff. It's like 46 degrees, and you see my tent, my canopy, they're all open, so I can adjust to the environment and the temperature and stuff, and I go out in it and stuff. Yeah, and that's the way I sleep. Yeah, in my canopy. If when we're living right and I'm up in the Gila or whatever stuff, it'll be radically different. I'll have an adobe house, so there won't be carbon emission poisoning and people running motorcycles up and down the thing and people paying bills and people, we could run you over the parking lot of basketball, but you didn't exist, and all that stupid shit. So, it'll be radically different. I'll light a fire. My beautiful wife will come in. Oh, you're ready to fire? Yeah, we're going to sit here. Okay. Want to snuggle? Want to snuggle? Stuff. And so, it's being alive and being a human being is a beautiful gift. When people turn it into an egotistical perception of narcissism and superficiality, it's ugly and it sucks. And so, every time when I used to get in really good shape and get kind of swaggity, I used to hate it. I hated it. I hated it in me. I was, always tried to keep more of but yeah, there is a confidence. Like when you play sports and you do things, you have to be confident. You have to move confidently, and you have to do things. But you can do it without being arrogant and condescending, abrasive and abusive too. And sometimes like when I have to stare down the coyotes and or you got there's a time and a place for everything. But for the most part, respect, good job, and that's the way I always was. Like me and Corey DeClue, and all I couldn't dunk. I could dunk, trust me, because but like when I knew, because Corey was 6'4" and he could dunk, and I took it down the baseline and went up, and I hit under his armpit. Charlie said I set the ball on the top of the back of the rim. I was 15 years old. Me and Corey, and he said, no, Earl, you took the ball and you set it on the back of the backboard on the back thing right there above the rim. You were literally, and Corey was stopping you with his body. He fouled me and he said, did you see that? I was like, no, all I saw was the bottom of your armpit. So I fouled the shit out of you. That should have been an and one, right? And Chuck said, that was one of the coolest shots I ever saw, that your hand was above the rim. That you, I was like, was it really? Yeah, that's pretty neat. But so yeah, I didn't know. I didn't see it. Charlie saw it, but I was like, "What? Yep, you were up there, Earl." I was like, "Oh." My adrenaline was pumping because I knew Corey could block it. I love you. All right. We'll talk later. Peace.